The vast, endless blue of the ocean stretched out in every direction, meeting the sky in a hazy line far away. On this immense stage, a colossal ship cut through the waves, a true marvel of engineering. It was more than just a boat. It was a floating city, a world unto itself, carrying hundreds of souls across the shimmering expanse. Imagine a giant building, but instead of being stuck on land, it moved gracefully over the water, its engines humming a steady, powerful song. This wasn't just any ship. It was a grand vessel, filled with a mix of people. Some were travelers, excited to see new places, their faces bright with anticipation. They strolled along the decks, feeling the salty spray on their skin, pointing at the occasional dolphin that leapt from the waves. Others were workers, busy making sure everything ran smoothly. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. Chefs cooked delicious meals in the huge kitchens, engineers kept the massive engines purring, and cleaners made sure every corner sparkled. Everyone had a job, big or small, that helped the ship move forward on its long journey. Children laughed as they played games in the special play areas, their parents watching with smiles. Teenagers gathered in groups, sharing stories and taking pictures of the beautiful sunsets. Older folks sat in comfortable chairs, reading books or simply gazing out at the horizon, lost in thought. There was a buzz of activity, a constant hum of life that filled every part of the ship, from the lowest engine room to the highest observation deck. The ship was on a very long trip, crossing many different seas. Days blended into weeks, marked by the rising and setting of the sun, painting the sky in fiery oranges and soft purples. The air was always fresh, carrying the scent of salt and the distant cry of seabirds. It felt like a peaceful bubble, separated from the rest of the world, a safe haven moving steadily towards its destination. No one thought much about danger. They were too busy enjoying the journey, the calm rhythm of the waves, and the company of their fellow passengers and crew. They believed they were completely safe, far away from any trouble, just floating along on their big, beautiful ship. Amidst the joyful sounds and busy hum of the grand ship, there was one person who moved with a quiet purpose, always ready to lend a helping hand. Her name was Sarah. To everyone on board, from the littlest child with a scraped knee to the oldest passenger feeling a bit dizzy, Sarah was simply the ship's kind nurse. She had a gentle smile and a calm way about her that made people feel better just by being near her. Sarah's days were spent in the ship's small but well-stocked infirmary, a clean, bright room filled with medicines and bandages. She checked on passengers, gave out seasickness pills, and bandaged small cuts. She listened patiently to worries and offered comforting words. Her uniform was always neat and white, and her hair was usually pulled back in a tidy bun. She seemed to be exactly what she appeared, a dedicated, caring nurse. Nothing more, nothing less. Children especially loved Sarah. She knew how to make a boo-boo feel better with a colorful bandage and a silly joke. She remembered their names and would wave to them when she saw them playing on deck. Adults trusted her completely. If someone had a headache or a cough, they knew Sarah would know just what to do. She never seemed flustered, even when things got a little busy. Her hands were steady, her voice was soft, and her eyes were always full of understanding. No one ever saw Sarah outside of her nursing duties. They didn't know much about her past or what she did when she wasn't helping others. They just knew her as the friendly face who brought comfort and care. She was an important part of the ship's crew, yes, but her role seemed straightforward and clear. She was there to heal, to soothe, and to ensure everyone's physical well-being. Sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, Sarah would stand by the railing, gazing out at the vast ocean with a thoughtful expression. Her eyes, usually so gentle, would hold a flicker of something deeper, something observant and sharp. But then, if someone approached, that look would vanish, replaced by her usual warm smile, ready to ask, "Is everything all right? Do you need anything?" She was a master at blending in, at being exactly what people expected her to be. No one imagined that this quiet, kind nurse held any hidden depths, or that she possessed skills far beyond giving injections or taking temperatures. They simply saw Sarah, the nurse, and felt safe in her gentle care, unaware of the strength and quick thinking that lay beneath her calm surface. The peaceful hum of the ship, which had been a comforting backdrop to everyone's days, was suddenly, violently shattered. It was a bright afternoon, and many passengers were enjoying the sunshine on the upper decks. Laughter echoed, and the gentle splash of the waves against the hull was the only sound besides the distant music from the lounge. Then, a harsh, grating noise ripped through the air, a loud scrape against the ship's side, followed by shouts that were not of joy. Panic spread like wildfire. Small, fast boats, dark and menacing, had appeared as if from nowhere, racing towards the grand ship. Men with rough faces and scary weapons began climbing ropes, swarming over the railings. They moved quickly, their loud, angry voices cutting through the calm. The cheerful buzz of the ship died instantly, replaced by gasps of fear and sudden, sharp cries. People who had been laughing moments before now huddled together, their faces pale. Children, confused and terrified, clung to their parents. The pirates, dirty and fierce, took control of the main deck first. They pushed and shouted, pointing their weapons, making it clear that they were in charge. The ship's crew, caught off guard, tried to resist but were quickly overpowered. Their uniforms, usually a symbol of order, now seemed helpless against the sudden, brutal invasion. The pirates were not interested in the beautiful views or the fancy food. They wanted power and control. They moved with a practiced speed, storming through the ship, herding passengers and crew together. Doors were kicked open, and anything valuable was quickly snatched. The joyful atmosphere turned into one of terror and chaos. The loud thud of heavy boots, the angry shouts of the pirates, and the fearful whimpers of the captured people filled the air. The ship, which had felt like such a safe place, now felt like a cage. The sun still shone, and the ocean still stretched out blue. But the world inside the ship had turned dark and scary. Everyone was frozen with fear, understanding that their peaceful journey had come to a shocking, terrifying end. The pirates had seized command, turning the grand vessel into their own fortress, and the fate of everyone on board hung in a terrifying balance. The gentle rhythm of the waves was now a mocking reminder of the peace that was lost. The pirates' first and most important goal was to take away any chance of resistance or escape. They knew that a ship without a leader was like a boat without a rudder, drifting and helpless. So, with harsh efficiency, they moved quickly to find and capture the key figures on board. Their targets were clear: the ship's captain, the first mate, the chief engineer, and anyone else who held a position of authority. The captain, a stern but fair man named Captain Elias, had tried his best to keep order and protect his passengers. He had bravely faced down the first wave of pirates, shouting commands to his crew. But he was outnumbered and outgunned. With a rough shove and the glint of a blade, he was quickly seized from the bridge, the very heart of the ship's control. His uniform, usually so crisp, was now rumpled, and his face, normally full of calm authority, was grim. One by one, the other important crew members were rounded up. The first mate, who had been trying to secure the lower decks, was caught by surprise. The chief engineer, a quiet but brilliant man who knew every pipe and wire of the ship, was dragged from the engine room, his hands still greasy from working on a machine. Even the head of security, a strong man who had trained for emergencies, found himself overpowered and disarmed. These leaders, who had guided the ship and its many people with skill and experience, were now prisoners themselves. They were tied up and taken to a central area, their faces showing a mix of anger, worry, and defeat. Their capture sent a clear message to everyone else. There was no one left to lead them, no one to give orders or plan a way out. The chain of command was broken, snapped by the sudden, brutal Asadu invasion. Without their captain and senior officers, the remaining crew members felt lost. They looked at each other, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Who would tell them what to do? Who would guide them? The ship, once a symbol of order and safety, now felt like a giant, empty shell, its pulse gone. The pirates made sure to show everyone that these important people were no longer in charge, parading them briefly before locking them away. A heavy silence fell over the captured passengers and crew, a silence born of helplessness. They were truly alone, adrift in a sea of fear, with no one to steer them through the storm. The hope that someone strong would rise to lead them was crushed under the heavy boots of the pirates. As despair settled over the ship like a heavy blanket, a spark of hope flickered in the most unexpected place. While most people huddled in fear, Sarah, the kind nurse, was not idle. Her gentle exterior hid a mind that worked quickly, assessing the danger and planning. She had watched the pirates' every move, noting their patrols and the areas they seemed to overlook. With a quiet resolve that no one on board knew she possessed, Sarah slipped away from the main group of captured passengers. She knew the ship's layout better than most, not just from her nursing duties, but from a deeper, unspoken knowledge. Her destination was a small, out-of-the-way storage closet, tucked behind some rarely used cleaning supplies in a less traveled hallway. It was a place the pirates hadn't bothered to check thoroughly, thinking it unimportant. Inside this dusty closet, hidden beneath a pile of old linens, was a small, emergency radio. It wasn't part of the ship's main communication system, which the pirates had quickly shut down. This was a backup, meant for extreme situations. A secret known only to a very few high-ranking crew members, and surprisingly, to Sarah. She had learned about it during a special, unannounced security briefing long ago. A briefing that most people would have found boring, but which she had paid close attention to. Her fingers, usually so gentle when bandaging a wound, now moved with a quick, practiced skill. She pulled out the small device, its dark casing blending into the shadows. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady as she checked the battery and extended the antenna. The room was silent save for the faint sounds of the ship creaking and the distant shouts of the pirates. She had to be fast, and she had to be quiet. Carefully, she tuned the radio, searching for an open frequency, a channel where her message might cut through the vastness of the ocean. She knew the chances were slim. The signal would be weak, and the nearest help could be days away. But she had to try. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the talk button. "Mayday, Mayday. This is cargo vessel, Odyssey. Under pirate attack. Position coordinates." She rattled off the ship's location from memory. "All command captured. Request immediate assistance. Is anyone out there? Over." Her voice was low, strained, but clear. She repeated the message, her words echoing softly in the tiny closet. Then she released the button, listening intently. Only static answered. She tried again and again, sending her desperate plea into the silence, a tiny whisper of hope against the roar of despair. She didn't know if anyone would hear, but she had sent it. The first seed of resistance had been planted. Thousands of miles away, across the same vast ocean, but in a world of stark contrast, a small group of highly trained soldiers was on duty. These were the Navy SEALs, a team known for their bravery, strength, and ability to handle the toughest missions. They were stationed on a military ship, ready at a moment's notice to go wherever danger called. Their base was quiet, but always alert, a place of intense focus and discipline. Commander Ben Carter, a man with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, was in the radio room. He was looking over maps and reports, the soft glow of screens lighting up his serious face. The radio room was usually filled with routine chatter, reports of weather and ship movements, but nothing urgent. Then, a faint crackling sound broke through the usual static. It was a distress call, weak and almost lost in the noise, but clear enough to catch Ben's attention. "Mayday, Mayday, this is cargo vessel, Odyssey. Under pirate attack. Position coordinates." The voice was a woman's, calm but urgent, repeating the ship's location and the terrible news. Ben leaned closer to the speaker, his heart quickening. Pirate attacks were serious business, and a Mayday call meant real trouble. He immediately ordered his radio operator to try and get a clearer signal, to confirm the coordinates, and to try and hail the Odyssey back. The room became tense. Maps were pulled up, showing the location the woman had given. It was far, but not impossible. The team quickly identified the cargo vessel, Odyssey, in their database. It was a civilian ship, full of ordinary people. Ben felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. His team, SEAL Team 7, was one of the closest units that could respond. He knew what this meant. A dangerous mission, far from home, with innocent lives at stake. He thought about the woman's voice, steady even in such a terrible situation. She had given clear details, even mentioning that all command was captured. That showed quick thinking, a surprising level of calm under pressure. He gathered his team, their faces instantly serious as he told them the news. They were tough, highly trained, and ready for anything. They listened intently as Ben explained the situation, their minds already racing, planning. The faint, repeated call from the Odyssey echoed in the background, a silent promise that someone was listening and help was on its way, even if the caller didn't know it yet. Sarah's desperate whisper had traveled across the vast ocean, finding its way to the ears of those who could truly make a difference. Commander Ben Carter's instincts screamed to move, to launch his team immediately and speed towards the distressed Odyssey. His SEALs were already geared up, their faces grim but ready, waiting for the command. But rescuing a hijacked ship was not as simple as rushing in. There were rules, protocols, and very important people who had to give the final say. Ben was on a secure video call with his superiors, high-ranking officers in a faraway command center. Their faces on the screen were serious, their questions sharp and precise. "Commander Carter," one of them said, his voice firm, "we understand the urgency. But this distress call came from an unauthorized frequency, and the source is unknown. Who sent this message?" Ben explained that the voice was a woman's, calm and clear, providing accurate coordinates and details about the ship's command being captured. "She sounded legitimate, sir," Ben insisted, "and the ship is definitely the Odyssey." "Legitimate is not enough, Commander," another officer cut in. We have no way to verify the identity of this caller. It could be a trick, a trap, or even a pirate trying to lure our forces into an ambush. We cannot risk a SEAL team on an unverified distress signal. Ben argued that time was critical, that innocent lives were at stake. He pointed out the specific details the caller provided, arguing that only someone inside the ship, observing closely, could have known them. But the superiors were unyielding. They needed more information. They needed to know who was calling, and if they were truly a reliable source. "Stand by, Commander," came the final order. "Do not launch. We need more intelligence. Until we can confirm the source and gain more details about the situation inside, your team remains on alert, but grounded. We cannot send a rescue force blindly into an unknown situation." Ben clenched his jaw. It went against every fiber of his being to wait. His team, watching him, could see the frustration on his face. They knew what the order meant: inaction, while people on that ship were in danger. The silence in the ready room was heavy, filled with the unspoken tension of skilled warriors forced to stand still. They had heard the distress call, felt the urgency, but without more proof. Without a known face or name to put to that brave, calm voice, their hands were tied. The fate of the Odyssey and its passengers now depended on whether that mysterious caller could somehow send another message, one that would finally convince the commanders to act. Sarah knew her first message might not be enough. She understood that a single, unverified call would likely be met with caution, especially by important military leaders. But she wasn't just a nurse. She was a quick thinker with a keen eye for details. The waiting game wasn't an option when lives were at stake. She had to provide more to prove her reliability and to give the rescuers everything they needed to act. Back in her hidden closet, Sarah risked another transmission. This time, she didn't just state the facts. She painted a picture with words, giving details only someone observing from inside could know. She described the number of pirates she had counted, their weapons, and where they seemed to be positioned. She noted their leader, a tall man with a distinctive scar, and how he barked orders. She also shared crucial information about the ship itself. "Pirates have secured the bridge and engine room," she whispered into the radio. "They're using the main lounge to hold most passengers. Captain Elias and senior crew are in the brig, deck 2 aft. There are at least 3 armed guards on the bridge, 2 in the engine room, and 4 guarding the brig. Patrols are irregular, but heavy on decks 4 and 5. Her voice was calm, almost detached, as if reading from a report, but the urgency was clear in her tone. She spoke about the layout of the ship, pointing out blind spots and less guarded corridors that might be useful for a rescue team. She even mentioned a small, unused cargo hatch on the port side, near the waterline, that might still be unsealed. "It could offer a quiet entry point," she added, her voice barely a whisper. Each piece of information was like a puzzle piece, carefully placed. She knew that military commanders needed hard facts, not just a cry for help. She was providing a blueprint for a rescue operation, showing not only that she was a credible source, but that she understood what kind of information would be most valuable. She repeated the ship's coordinates, the Mayday call, and then, with a deep breath, added, "This is Sarah, ship's nurse. Over." She held her breath, listening to the static, hoping her new detailed messages would cut through the doubt. She had gambled, revealing her identity, but also proving her worth. The silence that followed was heavy, but Sarah felt a surge of quiet determination. She had done her part. Now it was up to those listening on the other side of the vast ocean. Back in the SEAL Command Center, the air was still thick with tension. Commander Ben Carter paced impatiently, frustrated by the waiting game. His radio operator, a young man named Miller, suddenly stiffened, adjusting his headset. "Commander," he exclaimed, his voice sharper than before. "Another transmission from the Odyssey." Ben rushed to the console, leaning in to listen. The signal was clearer this time, and the voice, the same calm woman's voice, began to speak. But this wasn't just a distress call. It was a torrent of vital information, delivered with military precision. Miller began to furiously type, pulling up the ship's blueprints and marking locations as Sarah spoke. "Pirates have secured the bridge and engine room. Main lounge to hold most passengers. Captain Elias and senior crew in the brig. Deck 2, aft. At least 3 armed guards on the bridge, 2 in the engine room, and 4 guarding the brig. Patrols are irregular, but heavy on decks 4 and 5. Ben's eyes widened. He stared at the map, seeing the dots Miller was placing, the lines indicating pirate movements. This wasn't just someone guessing. This was real-time intelligence. The details were incredibly specific, the kind of information only a trained observer could provide. And then came the mention of the small, unused cargo hatch on the port side, near the waterline, suggesting a quiet entry point. "This is Sarah, ship's nurse, over." The voice finished, a slight tremor the only hint of the extreme danger she was in. Ben was stunned. A nurse? He looked at Miller, then back at the map. The amount of tactical information, the calm delivery, the strategic thinking, it was remarkable. He had expected a panicked whisper, not a detailed intelligence brief. He quickly got back on the secure line with his superiors, their faces once again appearing on the screen. "Sirs," Ben stated, his voice now firm with newfound conviction. "We have received more intel. The caller identifies herself as Sarah, the ship's nurse, and her report is extraordinarily detailed." He relayed the information, watching their expressions shift from skepticism to surprise, then to a dawning understanding. "She's providing actionable intelligence, sir. She knows the layout, the enemy's strength, their positions. She even suggested an infiltration point." The senior officers exchanged glances. The sheer audacity and clarity of the message from a ship's nurse were undeniable. This wasn't a trap. It was a desperate, intelligent plea from someone who clearly understood what was needed. The hesitation melted away, replaced by a new sense of urgency. The unknown caller was no longer a risk. She was an asset, a vital link. Ben felt a surge of relief and respect. This nurse was proving to be much more than anyone could have imagined. With Sarah's incredibly detailed reports, the waiting was over. The senior officers had given the green light, their voices now filled with purpose. Commander Ben Carter wasted no time. He gathered his SEAL team, their faces now alight with the focused intensity of soldiers about to embark on a mission. The large tactical map of the Odyssey was spread across the table, no longer just a blueprint, but a living diagram, marked with the pirates' positions thanks to Sarah's eyes and ears. "All right, listen up." Ben's voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. "Our intel just got a major upgrade, courtesy of our contact on the inside. A civilian, a nurse named Sarah, has provided us with a full tactical overview. This isn't just a rescue, it's a precision strike." He pointed to the map. "Primary entry point, the unused cargo hatch, port side near the waterline, as indicated by Sarah. This gives us a stealthy way in, avoiding the main decks." The team nodded, their eyes following his finger. "From there, our priority is to secure the bridge, neutralize pirate command, and Free Captain Elias and the senior crew from the brig on deck 2. Afterwards, Sarah reports 4 guards on the brig, 3 on the bridge. Each SEAL was assigned a specific role, their training kicking in instantly. They discuss the best routes, the quietest ways to move through the ship's labyrinthine corridors. They studied the schematics, imagining every corner, every door, every potential hiding spot. Sarah's information about irregular patrols and heavy presence on decks 4 and 5 helped them plan their movements to avoid detection until the critical moment. We move fast, we move quiet, and we hit hard, Ben emphasized. Sarah also mentioned the main lounge is where most passengers are being held. Once the bridge and brig are secure, we sweep the lounge and ensure the safety of all civilians. The plan was a complex dance of stealth and swift action, designed to minimize harm to the innocent people on board. It was a plan that relied heavily on the accuracy of Sarah's intelligence. Without her brave and clear communication, they would have been going in blind, facing far greater risks. As the team finalized their preparations, checking their gear and weapons, a new feeling filled the room. It wasn't just the usual readiness for battle. It was a sense of collaboration, a silent partnership with the unknown nurse who was already proving to be an invaluable part of their team. They had a clear picture, a path forward, all thanks to Sarah. The rescue mission for the Odyssey was no longer just a possibility. It was now a carefully crafted operation, ready to be put into motion. As twilight deepened into a moonless night, the vast ocean became a canvas of deep black, broken only by the distant glitter of stars. It was the perfect cloak for the SEAL team's approach. Far above the waves, a specially modified helicopter, painted in shades of dark gray, sliced through the air. It was designed to be as quiet as possible, its rotors barely whispering against the wind, making it almost invisible and inaudible against the dark sky. Inside the helicopter, the SEALs were a picture of focused readiness. Their faces were painted for night operations, and their gear was strapped on tight. Commander Ben Carter sat among them, his eyes scanning the instruments, a grim determination etched on his face. They had studied Sarah's reports, practiced their movements, and now it was time to put their plan into action. The only light inside the cabin came from small, red glow sticks, preserving their night vision. As the helicopter drew closer to the Odyssey, the ship appeared as a faint, dark silhouette against the horizon, its lights now few and scattered, a stark contrast to the bright, cheerful vessel it had been. The pirates, confident in their control and the vastness of the sea, would not expect anyone to find them in the dead of night, let alone a team of highly trained rescuers. This darkness was the SEAL's greatest ally. The pilot expertly brought the helicopter lower, flying just above the waves, using the ocean's surface to hide their approach. The roar of the engines was suppressed, and the team communicated in whispers and hand signals. They were like ghosts, moving silently, unseen, towards their target. The salty air rushed past the open ramp at the back of the helicopter, carrying with it the promise of danger and the hope of rescue. Ben gave a silent nod, and his team prepared for their descent. Ropes were readied, and specialized grappling hooks were checked. Their goal was to land on the ship's deck without a sound, or to deploy into the water and approach the suggested cargo hatch quietly. Every movement was practiced, every action precise. They were counting on surprise, on the pirates' false sense of security. The safety of everyone on the Odyssey depended on them remaining unseen, unheard, until the very last moment. The silent approach was critical, the first step in reclaiming the ship from the hands of the pirates. As the SEALs executed their silent approach, their ears were not only tuned to the sounds of the ship, but also to a tiny, almost imperceptible voice in their earpieces. Sarah, still hidden in her closet, had managed to establish a two-way connection with the SEAL team. Her voice, now a steady whisper, became their eyes and ears inside the dark, pirate-controlled vessel. "Cargo hatch secure. Team is in," Commander Ben Carter reported quietly into his mic. "Copy that, Commander." Sarah's voice came back instantly. "Movement on deck 3, 2 pirates heading toward the stern. Avoid the galley corridor for now. Clear path to main stairwell, then up to deck 4. It was an incredible feat of courage and observation. While the pirates roamed the ship, Sarah, risking everything, had carefully moved from her hiding spot to get a better view. She was using her knowledge of the ship, her calm nerves, and a surprising skill for stealth to track the enemy. She was no longer just reporting. She was actively guiding the mission. "Team moving to deck 4, Ben confirmed, leading his men through the dark, silent passages. Each step was careful, each breath held. "Wait, Commander." Sarah's voice sharpened slightly. "Hold your position. Pirate leader, the one with a scar, just moved to the bridge, with an extra guard. Total of 4 on the bridge now. They seem agitated. Proceed with extreme caution." Ben relayed the update to his team. A last-minute change in pirate numbers could have thrown off their entire plan. But Sarah's quick observation saved them from a dangerous surprise. Her calm, precise instructions were like a lifeline, steering them away from danger and towards their objectives. She told them which doors were likely locked, which corridors were empty, and even warned them about a squeaky floorboard near a pirate's post. "Brig guards are rotating every 15 minutes, she whispered. "Next rotation in 2 minutes. That's your window for the brig. I'll create a small distraction near the main lounge to draw attention away from deck 2. Ben's admiration for this nurse grew with every word. She wasn't just observing. She was thinking like a seasoned operative, anticipating enemy movements and offering tactical solutions. She was commanding the mission from the inside, a brave voice in the dark, leading the SEALs step by careful step through the heart of danger. Her guidance was invaluable, turning a risky blind assault into a precisely guided operation. Guided by Sarah's steady voice, the SEALs moved through the ship like shadows. Every step was deliberate, every corner cleared with practiced ease. Then, the moment came. With a silent signal from Commander Carter, the team struck. The first targets were the pirates guarding the brig where the captain and crew were held. They burst in, a whirlwind of speed and strength, catching the pirates completely by surprise. The struggle was swift and silent, over in mere seconds. The guards, disarmed and stunned, were quickly secured. "Brig clear. Captain Elias and crew secure," Ben reported quietly. "Good work, Commander." Sarah's voice came back, a hint of relief in her tone. "Moving to the bridge now. Expect resistance. Pirate leader is there." The SEALs advanced, their movements a blur of efficiency. They reached the bridge, the ship's command center, where the pirate leader and his men were. The pirates, thinking they were safe, were caught off guard as the SEALs burst through the door. It wasn't a drawn-out battle, but a sudden, decisive strike. The SEALs used their specialized training, moving with incredible speed and power. They disarmed the pirates quickly, using hand-to-hand combat and swift maneuvers. There were no loud gunshots, only sharp, controlled movements that took down the pirates before they could even properly react. The pirate leader, the man with the scar, tried to fight back fiercely, but he was no match for the SEALs' combined strength and skill. He was quickly subdued, his angry shouts muffled as he was secured. The bridge, which had been a symbol of pirate control, was now firmly back in safe hands. "Bridge secure. Pirate leader captured," Ben reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. "Excellent, Commander. Now for the engine room," Sarah responded, her voice calm and focused, as if she were in the same room. She continued to guide them, helping them avoid stray pirates and find the quickest path. The SEALs moved with renewed purpose, clearing each section of the ship systematically. In the engine room, the remaining pirates, fewer in number and less prepared, were quickly overcome. The battle was a testament to the SEALs' rigorous training and Sarah's flawless intelligence. Each pirate encountered was dealt with swiftly and professionally, ensuring minimal noise and no harm to the innocent. The dark, silent ship slowly began to be reclaimed, piece by piece, from the pirates' grasp, all thanks to the powerful combination of a brave nurse's guidance and a skilled team's might. Even as Sarah was directing the SEALs, her role as a nurse never truly left her. She knew that the fear and uncertainty among the passengers could be just as dangerous as the pirates themselves. While the quiet battle raged in the ship's hidden corners, Sarah also focused on keeping the trapped civilians calm and safe. She moved silently among the huddled groups, her white nurse's uniform a beacon of calm in the dim, tense atmosphere of the main lounge. Her voice, usually soft, was now a steady, reassuring whisper. "It's going to be okay," she told a frightened mother clutching her child. "Help is here. Just stay quiet and stay together." She had to be careful not to reveal the ongoing rescue, or the pirates might get suspicious. Instead, she used her nursing skills to soothe nerves. She checked on people who looked especially pale or shaky, offering sips of water she had managed to find. She gently encouraged people to breathe slowly, to keep their movements to a minimum, and to listen for her quiet instructions. When the SEALs needed a distraction, as she had promised, Sarah acted swiftly. She knew where a small, unused alarm panel was located near the lounge. With a quick, silent move, she triggered a very short, muffled alarm in a distant part of the ship. The pirates in the lounge became agitated, sending a couple of their men to investigate the noise. This small act bought the SEALs precious time and diverted attention away from their critical movements towards the brig. As the SEALs continued to clear sections of the ship, Sarah's calming presence prevented widespread panic among the passengers. She reassured them that the strange thumps and muffled sounds they might hear were part of the ship's normal workings, or just the pirates moving things around. She was a master of distraction and comfort, making sure that the very people the SEALs were risking their lives for remained out of harm's way and didn't accidentally alert the remaining pirates. She knew that any sudden outcry or panicked movement from the passengers could jeopardize the entire operation. So, while she was a tactical commander for the SEALs, she was also the steadfast protector and comforter for the innocent. Her dual role was exhausting, but she carried it out with remarkable strength, her gentle nurse's heart beating in rhythm with the brave soldier's mind. The night was still dark, but inside the Odyssey, the tide had turned. With Sarah's eyes and voice guiding their every move, the SEALs had become unstoppable. Each section of the ship was systematically cleared. The pirates, disoriented by the silent, sudden attacks and confused by Sarah's clever distractions, found themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered. After securing the brig, the bridge, and the engine room, Commander Carter's team moved towards the main lounge, where most of the passengers and the remaining pirates were located. Sarah had given them precise details: 3 pirates in the lounge, two near the entrance, one at the far end by the emergency exit. "Approaching main lounge, Sarah," Ben whispered into his comms. "Copy, Commander. They seem relaxed, not expecting you. Be aware of a small table near the far wall. It might be used as cover," she warned, her voice steady even with the final confrontation so close. With Sarah's final piece of real-time intelligence, the SEALs burst into the lounge. The pirates inside were indeed caught completely off guard. Their startled shouts were quickly silenced as the SEALs moved with practiced speed and coordination. In a swift, controlled operation, the remaining pirates were disarmed and secured, their weapons clattering harmlessly to the floor. A wave of gasps and relieved cries swept through the frightened passengers. They looked up, their faces pale but now filled with a dawning hope, as the heavily armed, camouflaged figures secured the area. They saw the pirates, no longer menacing, but now defeated and tied up. Commander Carter looked around the lounge, ensuring every pirate was accounted for. "Lounge clear. All pirates captured," he reported, a deep sense of accomplishment in his voice. "The ship is secure." A moment of stunned silence, then Sarah's voice, now clearer and stronger, broke through. "Understood, Commander. All clear here too. No further pirate activity detected." The long, terrifying ordeal was finally over. The pirates' reign of fear had ended, not with a loud, chaotic battle, but with a series of precise, surgical strikes, each one made possible by the unwavering courage and sharp mind of a nurse who was far more than she seemed. The ship, once a prison, was free, all thanks to the incredible teamwork between the brave SEALs and their unexpected, brilliant commander on the inside. As the last pirate was secured and the ship declared safe, the initial shock slowly gave way to an outpouring of relief and overwhelming gratitude. The quiet hum of the ship's engines, which had been silenced by fear, now returned, a comforting sound of normalcy. The crew members, freed from the brig, quickly took back control, their faces still showing strain but also immense relief. The passengers, who had huddled together in terror, now began to stir. They saw the brave SEALs, their serious faces softening as they reassured everyone. But it was Sarah, the gentle nurse, who quickly stepped forward. She moved among the relieved crowds, her uniform a little dusty, but her calm presence unwavering. She checked on children, offered water to those who were shaking, and spoke in soothing tones. "Is everyone all right?" she asked, her voice clear and kind. "Are there any injuries?" People rushed to her, not just for medical help, but to thank her. They had heard her calm voice during the attack, her quiet reassurances. They hadn't known she was secretly guiding the rescue, but they felt her steady strength. Children hugged her legs, and adults grasped her hands, their eyes wet with tears of relief. Then, Commander Ben Carter, his mission complete, approached Sarah. He looked at her with profound respect. "Nurse Sarah," he said, his voice deep, "your courage and incredible assistance saved this ship, and everyone on it." The passengers and crew looked on, confused at first. What did he mean? Assistance. They knew Sarah was kind, but this was a team of elite soldiers. Captain Elias, now free, stepped forward. "Sarah, what is he talking about?" With a modest smile, Sarah explained, "I managed to get a distress call out and provided some information to the rescue team." She downplayed her incredible role, but Commander Carter was quick to elaborate. He told them how Sarah's detailed messages, her real-time updates, and her tactical advice had been crucial to their success. He spoke of her courage, her intelligence, and her unwavering calm under immense pressure. A new wave of appreciation washed over the ship, not just for the brave SEALs who had stormed in, but for the quiet nurse who had been a hero all along, secretly guiding the way. Everyone realized that without Sarah, the outcome might have been very different. They were safe, truly safe, and their gratitude for both Sarah and the SEALs knew no bounds. Once the initial waves of relief had settled and the ship was truly calm again, Commander Ben Carter sought out Sarah. He found her in the infirmary, already back to her nurse duties, tending to a few passengers who were still a bit shaken, but otherwise unharmed. She looked tired, but her eyes still held that quiet strength he had come to respect. He stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her gentle movements, a stark contrast to the tactical brilliance he had witnessed through his comms. When she looked up and saw him, she offered a small, weary smile. "Nurse Sarah," Ben began, stepping into the room. His voice, usually gruff and commanding, was softer now, filled with genuine admiration. "I wanted to thank you personally. What you did, it was extraordinary." Sarah, ever modest, simply nodded. "I just did what I could, Commander. Everyone was so scared." Ben shook his head. "No, Sarah, you did far more than what you could. You were our eyes and ears. You gave us the intel we needed to make a plan, and then you guided us through the ship, step by step, in real time. You warned us of dangers, pointed out entry points, and even created diversions." He paused, looking directly into her eyes. "Frankly, nurse, you were like a brave commander. You led us from the inside, and without your calm, clear instructions, this mission would have been far more dangerous, if not impossible." He extended his hand, and Sarah took it, her grip surprisingly firm. "Your courage, your quick thinking, and your ability to stay calm under fire were truly remarkable. You have a soldier's mind, Sarah, a natural leader. My team and I owe you a debt of gratitude we can never fully repay." Sarah's cheeks flushed slightly, unused to such high praise, especially from a decorated military leader. "I just wanted to help," she repeated softly. "And you did," Ben said, a genuine smile finally breaking through his serious demeanor. "You helped us save everyone. You're a hero, Nurse Sarah, a true hero." His words carried immense weight, not just for Sarah, but for the few crew members who overheard. They had seen the SEALs' bravery, but now they understood the quiet, profound role their own ship's nurse had played. The respect in Ben's voice was undeniable, echoing the silent respect his entire team now felt for the woman they had only known as a calm voice in their ear. The quiet words from Commander Carter about Sarah's true role spread quickly throughout the ship. What started as whispers turned into open conversations, then into a chorus of admiration. No longer was Sarah just the kind nurse who offered bandages and seasickness pills. She was revealed as the brave, quick-thinking hero who had, in essence, commanded the rescue from the inside. Passengers and crew alike looked at Sarah with new eyes. They remembered her calm presence during the pirate attack, her quiet reassurances, and the subtle ways she had helped keep them safe. Now, they understood that beneath her gentle demeanor was a sharp mind and an unshakable courage. The children who had received her colorful bandages now saw her as a real-life superhero. Adults who had trusted her with their minor ailments now marveled at her incredible strength and intelligence. Captain Elias, now back on the bridge, made an official announcement to the ship, praising Sarah's extraordinary actions. He recounted how she had sent the distress signal, gathered vital intelligence, and guided the Navy SEALs through the ship, making their successful rescue possible. He called her a hero, and the applause that followed was deafening, echoing through the ship's now safe corridors. Sarah, still a little shy about all the attention, remained humble. But it was clear that her place on the ship and in the hearts of everyone aboard had changed forever. She was no longer simply Nurse Sarah. She was Sarah the hero. People approached her not just for medical advice, but to express their profound gratitude, to shake her hand, and to thank her for saving their lives. Her story became the talk of the ship. How she, a seemingly ordinary nurse, had risen to such an extraordinary challenge, demonstrating bravery and strategic thinking that would impress any military leader. She proved that heroes come in all forms, and that strength and intelligence aren't always found in uniforms or positions of power, but sometimes in the quiet resolve of a kind, unassuming individual. The experience had shown everyone on the Odyssey that Sarah was truly remarkable, a woman of deep, hidden talents who, when faced with extreme danger, became a beacon of hope and a force for good. Life on the Odyssey slowly returned to its gentle rhythm. The fear had faded, replaced by a deep sense of peace and a renewed appreciation for the vast, beautiful ocean. The pirates were long gone, taken away by military ships that arrived after the rescue. But while the physical signs of the attack vanished, the memory of Sarah's heroism remained, changing how everyone saw her forever. Sarah continued her duties as the ship's nurse, her white uniform still neat, her smile still kind. She still tended to scraped knees and seasickness, her hands just as gentle as before. But now, when people saw her, there was a new glint in their eyes, a mixture of respect, admiration, and a little bit of awe. No one simply saw just a nurse anymore. Children would whisper about Nurse Sarah the superhero as she passed, and adults would greet her with heartfelt thanks, often adding a quiet, "You were so brave." Even Captain Elias and the senior crew treated her with a newfound deference, knowing that her quick thinking had saved them all. She was still modest, deflecting praise, but the truth of her strength and intelligence was now an open secret. Sometimes, when she stood by the railing, gazing out at the endless blue, she would allow herself a small, knowing smile. The flicker of something deeper in her eyes was now understood. She had proven to herself, and to everyone else, that a person's outward appearance doesn't always show their true capabilities. She was a healer, yes, but also a strategist, a leader, and a hero. The experience had bonded everyone on the Odyssey. They had faced terror together, and together they had witnessed an ordinary person rise to an extraordinary challenge. Sarah's story became a legend whispered through the ship's corridors, a reminder that courage can be found in the most unexpected places. She was still Sarah, the nurse. But now, she was Sarah, the woman who had commanded a SEAL team and saved a ship, forever remembered as much more than just her job title. Her journey continued, but with a quiet strength that everyone now recognized and admired.